I'm Mary Kopczynski. I'm the co-founder of the Women in RegTech New York and the CEO of RegAlytics. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and that means I've always been a builder and a creator and a changer. In my first company, we did crisis management on Wall Street. So we were constantly having to change and build with all these new regulatory requirements. There was never an easy one-size-fits-all solution, but a lot has changed. What's been really interesting with the rise of AI is I've noticed a lot of institutions are stopping with what they were doing and reevaluating if there's a better solution that's easier to use. It's really, really hard because the regulatory pressure is most often coming from a regulator wanting an answer right now on a topic right now. And so you're always dealing with a burning fire right in front of you. And it's really hard to step back and be strategic. But I do think that there's an awareness that people are going to be stuck in these hamster wheels unless they stop and take a deep breath and think, is there a different way to do it? And you can see that happening with a lot of new job openings over the last 5 to 10 years for the head of innovation, and transformation is now a very, very common title. So it's coming, but with anything, when you get into Wall Street, they are so heavily regulated and they're so under fire, it takes a while for innovation to really happen. When I started out, no one even knew what RegTech was. I'm actually the 5th hashtag ever in 2013, and people thought I had dropped off the moon. But now it's a common word. People understand it, and they understand that there's vendor solutions that solve very particular problems, and that now there's enough people using them that a financial institution isn't going out on a crazy limb by signing onto a startup. They're signing on now to very established companies with track records of building out solutions. I think additionally, there's a lot more engagement now with regulators. And so the regulators themselves are much more comfortable with some of the products, and they like the transparency from these vendors. And so they're in many sense encouraging the financial institutions to adopt, because it's just simply better than what some of the institutions have now. I do think there's some institutions that are doing a good job. I think a nice example are some of the sandboxes that have been created. Those have been really nice opportunities to help the ecosystem in both ways. These startups that maybe have really great tech and capability of dealing with a lot of data, but they don't have any real data to deal with. This allows them to really see if their products holds muster against the real use case. And then vice versa. You have a large institution that will pump their data through this new technology and have insights they were not expecting to see. I also think that the large institutions can certainly be better about helping with the funding of the startups and helping them get through vendor management. Cross-border is a giant pain. That is something that I saw time and time again, implementing many different technologies into large institutions. And it was always something that never came up in the sales cycle, but then it would come up in the middle of implementation saying, oh, how are you going to deal with Switzerland? And the vendor would say, what do you mean, how are we going to deal with Switzerland? And they didn't have any awareness of the complex, absolutely no sharing of the data between Switzerland and any counterpart around the world, and similarly with Singapore, and there's other really restrictive jurisdictions. That's a huge opportunity for many of the vendors to grow and understand, but a lot of times it's regulatory experts that know the problem, and the regulatory experts aren't necessarily technologists. There are situations where the cross-border implications are actually for the better, but in some cases they're for the worse. You cannot expect these vendors to know these rules coming out of the gate, because you yourself hardly know these rules coming out of the gate. And so a lot of times I don't like the way the relationship can sometimes get combative when it should be really collaborative, because it's a problem that really no one solved very well.